everybody. Thank you for returning to our YouTube channel. I am Brian with Technology United for Ukraine, and if you'd like to join our cause, link is in the description. I am also here with...
Hi, I'm James. I'm with the AZOV International Battalion. That's Azov Corps, 12th Special Purpose Brigade, 3rd International Battalion. And I'm here to talk today about new technology in Ukraine that is affecting the war in general. And I'm also here to ask for your support and help with our unit with getting this equipment, quite frankly, because we're fighting the big bad monster that is Russia, and we need all the help we can get. And so I'd like to ask you all to go to this website. It's yukraine.com. So that's the letter Y and the word Ukraine, all one word all together. And you can go here and click right there where it says click to support Azov International Battalion. And you can also go to our Azov International website. And if you go to support, it will take you to the same thing, the same link right here. So if you can do that and help us buy some of this technology that we're going to talk about today. So the website that I'm going to is called braveinventors.com. And to help people understand, this is a part of the Brave One program, which is like a technology incubator and accelerator program, defense tech program that the Ukrainian government has implemented. So these are all companies and their inventions that have been approved for use by the Ukrainian army. And it takes a long time to get that. And the funding that the Ukrainian government provides is quite low, and it's shockingly low. But this website was set up as a hub to help those companies find investors. And so if you're an investor and you'd like to invest in Ukraine and the technology that Ukraine is inventing and producing, this is a good place to go. So today we're going to talk about electronic warfare systems, EW, and we're just going to look at a few products on this website that and what they are. So Brian, tell me, what do you know about electronic warfare, EW, as they say?
Yeah, so obviously I'm not an engineer in EW. I'm not an engineer at all. So
really?
I will
Shocking.
give you a very layperson perspective. We do work on electronic warfare.
Mm-hmm.
Electronic warfare, and again, this is a layperson's perspective. Mm-hmm. So for the engineers out there, forgive me. But basically, it's a way of interfering with signals. So if a drone is going to go into what you call an EW, electronic warfare bubble, then that drone signal will get cut off. And they do it through throwing noise out, right? So you have to be in a general way, and it just confuses the signal. And then you have EW resistant platforms such as fiber optic. Fiber optic gets the information through a cable, so it doesn't really get interfered. But that would be my perspective of it.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty accurate. A pretty good explanation, actually, of what's happening. And a lot of people, I hear Americans often talk about EMPs, which is electromagnetic pulse warfare, and that's different. Okay, but a lot of people will say, "Well, you got all these drones. Why can't you just use an EMP?" And there's a law of physics that makes EMPs less useful the further away you get, and unless you want to go with like massive amounts of power. And again, it's electromagnetic pulse, so it's putting out that power for a very short period of time. It's literally a pulse. So that it can be used and it has been used, but this type of electronic warfare, and this is one example, puts out a sustained, not a pulse, but a sustained source of interference. And the way that you could think about it is, those of you who are old enough to remember TV before digital cable, when you would have to change the channel, and sometimes, especially if you were working with like UHF, the old UHF station, like channel 40 or something like that, sometimes you'd see another channel on channel 40, or you'd turn it to channel 42 and you'd still see channel 40 with a bunch of static. That exact thing is really what this EW does. It's interference, and it makes it more difficult for the drone operator to see what's going on, essentially. And also, it can do that. It can also interfere with control signals, basically. So, it's interesting looking at this picture here, Brian. I'm curious, from your layman's perspective, what do you see? What's your first impressions of looking at this?
If I were to look at this and I didn't know what I was looking at,
yeah,
I would say I have no idea what I'm looking at. I see something with some buckets and some antennas and like a kid's toy in the front of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
looks like some Tupperware, maybe.
What's that?
Looks like some Tupperware.
Yeah, some Tupperware. So yeah, it would leave you a little befuddled as to what you were looking at.
Yeah, really, and then just random wires going all over the place. Yes. It's really something.
Maybe I think your first impression would be it's a radio of some type, like somebody, like if I were to look, it was some type of sophisticated radio, maybe.
I mean, you are correct. That's exactly what it is. I mean, we're talking about radio waves here.
Yeah.
But if you didn't know any better, it's just like random buckets. Oh, it's too funny. Yeah, but I mean, that's it's really what it looks like. So this it's called the Babai Reb, and this word Reb here is the Ukrainian acronym, what we would say EW. Okay. Like electronic. So you've got the E for electronic, V for like warfare, right? And radio, right? Radio electronic warfare is really what it stands for. For a long time, I would hear Ukrainians saying this, and I thought they were saying rap, like rap music. And I thought, well, okay, yeah, it sounds like noise to me. So it seems appropriate, but no, it's Reb. Okay. So we say EW, or sometimes we have other acronyms. They say Reb, basically. And the name of it is called Babai, which I think, isn't there like is that like an Arabic word or something, or something like India? There's some elephant named Babai. I don't know. I don't know what it's from.
Something like Baba Ganoush or something.
Yeah, maybe something like that. Maybe it means bye bye, like bye bye.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Signal's gone. There you go.
Yeah. So okay, and here it says Babai and Babe. Yeah, and here, so this is the English translation of the Ukrainian. So here's the Ukrainian, and then I have it automatically translated. But I'll go to the English side of the website here. And so this gives you some of the technical things, right? Suppression modules, 50 watts. Now think about how much 50 watts is. That's not that much, right? I mean, it's like an old school light bulb that you might have in your house, like with 50, 60 watt light bulbs. That's nothing, right? And the range is from 200 megahertz all the way up to 6 gigahertz. Okay. The UAV jamming radius is 50 to 200 meters. So think of equivalent. It can be equivalent to yards, Okay, so up to 200 yards. So in other words, it will jam systems up to 200 yards away. And then here's a really important thing right here. Automatic signal recognition. 300 megahertz to 6 gigahertz. Automatic signal recognition. What do you suppose that means?
It identifies the type of the signal source, the type of signal source, the frequency it's on, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And this is another really important thing here. Full automation. The system operates autonomously, providing a quick response to threats without involvement of an operator. And silent mode. The system does not emit a signal until activation. So that is. Oh, and when enemy drones are activated, all jammers are. When enemy drones are detected, all jammers are activated, making it impossible for them to adapt to signal jamming. Well, impossible is a strong word, but let's take it for what it is. So imagine that one thing that's already coming up on the battlefield is frequency hopping. Okay, so your drone is getting jammed on one frequency. Oh, it can hop over to another within a certain range, depending on what antennas you have. Okay, this is intended to stop that from happening. Okay, and overheat protection is also very important because these antennas, they can get very hot, and I've seen where these plastic buckets physically actually melt on top of cars and what have you. Yeah, especially in the summertime, the radio's turned on, plus it's a hot day, and if you're using the wrong kind of plastic, if it's 3D printed plastic, it can just physically melt. So this is really important because previously, they have a little video. That's nice. Yeah, so here we can take a look and see you've got all these different plugs here, and those go to antennas. So, and it tells you the range, the signal range, 433, 700 megahertz, 1200 megahertz, so that's 1.2 gigahertz, 2400, so that's 2.4, so that's in the like regular home Wi-Fi range. 5800, that's home Wi-Fi again. And then, yeah, it looks like this is 5.8 tera. I can't see gig. I can't read that, but that looks like it's above 5.8. And then also we have 200 to something there. So that's the low end and the very high end. So that's, really super important, really useful to be able to. I've had Reb on my car. I've worked with this stuff all the time. But here's the problem, right? You're driving around. This happens to me all the freaking time. Happens to me right here sitting in my apartment near the front lines in Ukraine, which is some car drives by and they just came off the front line, some big truck or something, and they left their Reb on. They've got Reb on the top of their car, EW, right? And all of a sudden, my Wi-Fi goes down in my house, okay? Or my my GPS goes all screwy, okay? Because that operates on certain signal ranges as well, okay? So you're driving around, and not only that, but if you're driving out around near the front lines, you don't necessarily know what other drone operators, for example, are out there who are on your own side, okay? What if you're blocking them just by driving around out there? So if you have your EW, if you have these buckets turned on the whole time, then you're just it's like driving around the streets with your car stereo turned up, beyond max, and it's vibrating everybody's windows, and nobody can hear each other talk. That's what it's like. It's that annoying, and it can interfere with the operations of other units in your area. It's a constant problem because there's not enough communication between units. So having this not always on, but also detecting drones when they come near to you within that's the thing, that 50 to 200 meter range, right? That's the key. So in other words, I've worked with Reb that's been very good Reb, and it can take down a drone a kilometer away, literally a kilometer away, right? But what happens when you do that? That means everybody around you within a kilometer radius, so a big 2 kilometer circle, and you're just taking out every single drone. How many of those drones are your own, right? So this, it's a much more efficient system, I would say, you know. So I just want to take a look at this Tupperware, all right, and see if you can get like a very close look at it. What do you think of that shape inside there? Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. So how it disperses the signal?
Yeah. We call that a. I really do think this is Tupperware. I mean, I think it's actually Tupperware, Brian. It looks like Tupperware. I think I can see the little Tupperware symbol on there. That is so funny. It literally looks like
you gotta
Tupperware.
make it inexpensive, right? Why have to pay for the expensive stuff when you can just use Tupperware? There you go, Tupperware. If they're out there, your stuff is now functional with EW. You might want to go into the defense industry.
Well, actually, what this looks like to me is here in Ukraine, mustard is often sold in these little containers like this, you know, mustard or like chip dip, that sort of thing. You know, I really think that's what that is. Okay. So yeah, this reveals to you the shape of the signal that's coming out of the antenna. Okay. So if you can picture this shape just like 400 meters wide, invisible in the air, right? And the same is true. Like so these we got 3 other antennas here, right? These ones that stick up like this. Yeah. So you were talking earlier about the bubble, right? Yeah. So that's exactly these we call them cloverleaf antennas. They do a pretty good job of making that bubble, you know. But what about these poles? What sort of a shape do you think? We call this an omni antenna.
I was going to say omnidirectional, yeah.
Omnidirectional, okay. Okay, omnidirectional. It means all directions, right? Right? Not really. That's a lie.
What?
They're lying to you. It's not omnidirectional.
People are easy to fool, brother.
Let me see. Let me just do a real quick search here. Omnidirectional lobes. Yep. Yeah. So this is good. The Wikipedia. Okay. And this shows you the radiation pattern of an omnidirectional antenna. It's not omnidirectional, it's a donut. Okay. And it's actually much more like this. If you can look at this too long without getting a brain seizure. Okay. So here we go. This is a dipole. This is a monopole antenna. Okay. So the shapes that they actually make is more like a donut. Okay. So that means they have a really intense power output in sort of a horizontal direction, like a big donut around the antenna. But directly above it's open. It's wide open. So this is a thing that this knowledge, right, is something that experienced drone operators can use. Okay, because if you are flying your drone here, and you want to hit that object, that truck or whatever it is that's going down the road, where are you gonna fly? If you were flying a drone and you wanted to hit your target is at the center of these two donuts, where would you go? How would you do it? Oh, I can't hear you, but I can see you.
I turned. You want to go underneath from the top, right?
Yeah, right down the middle, just like Luke Skywalker,
Yeah.
in the Death Star. You've got that. Oh, it's a 1 meter wide hole. A good drone operator might be able to do that. It's like flying into the eye of a hurricane.
This looks like something you'd see on a documentary about the universe. This is like the black hole. We go into the black hole.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, so this this picture that you see here, that kind of donut shape, if you know that it's there, and depending on the gain of the antenna, then here we go. This is a good example. Yeah. So depending on the gain of the antenna, the higher the gain, the thinner the donut. Okay, the more slim the donut is. So that means that you can fly just above the donut and then loop right down. Or you could fly under the donut, maybe, if the antenna's in a high on top of a vehicle, for example. Okay, so experienced drone operators are using this every day. Yeah.
And it's made it very almost between fiber optics and understanding the principles. It's made these kind of not obsolete, but they're not as effective as they were before the fiber optics and tactics were developed.
Yeah. Well, right. It's a cat and mouse game. You know what I mean? Like, you have to have this on your car, though, because as soon as you take it off your car or your vehicle or your wherever you are, then now you're open to not just fiber optic drones, but regular radio drones as well. So you got to have it. It's a necessity, So what this would do is this would usually sit up on top of like a vehicle, for example. You could also have it covered with something. I've seen systems like this. I don't think we have any examples here. No, I've seen systems like this where, this is a good example right here. So this is another system similar called the Reb ZTX Shulika. Okay. And this is without the antennas. This is just the power portions of it. Okay. So here, these have output at 433, 800 megahertz. And then you've got these cables here. And then the antennas would sit on top of your car. And the antenna parts are actually really incredibly cheap. As you can see, it's Tupperware and some wire. Okay. The expensive parts of it is what's in this box. Okay.
And this is something that's synonymous with the Ukraine. Is in the US, they would use the absolute most expensive type of material to make that cup. But in Ukraine, if it doesn't really matter, you get the least expensive thing possible if it's a little mustard cup.
Yes. And look, the wire right there, I don't know that. It could be coat hangers.
Yes.
I mean, it kind of looks like maybe, but probably it's just copper wire. Just like I could go to the store, buy some copper wire, bend it into that shape, and attach it to the antenna. Bada bing, bada boom, some soldering, and we're done.
Yeah, its innovation is they're extremely innovative, especially when it comes to cost and necessity. So if something doesn't have to be $10,000. Which if we made it in the US, that cup would be $10,000, super engineered, but most of the engineering would be irrelevant. You can use a mustard cup.
Yeah, exactly. And keep it simple, stupid, for sure. So like this one, just for example, and again, so this is that Reb ZTX Shulika, okay, Shulika 5.0. And is it automated? Looks like it's not automated. Oh
When
no,
they
yeah,
say
no,
automated, can you explain that a little bit? Because I'm actually not.
right. So
Um,
this one here has a button. Okay, and so when you're driving into an area and you know there's going to be drones in that area,
mhm,
hopefully you know roughly what signal ranges. This is what I've used before, not exactly the
mhm.
system, but you know what signal ranges are being used in that area. You have that
Okay.
intelligence, and so you use these buttons that you see here, and each of these buttons is a frequency range:
Okay.
433, 800, 1000, 2.4, and 5.8. Okay, and so you push one or more of those buttons, usually two of them, at least two of them, because you want to be able to take out the control signal and the video signal. Most drones have two frequencies that they operate on: a low end, which is your control, and a high end that's your video signal. High frequency transfers more data but requires more power. Low is less data but can penetrate through more. It's more difficult to block, essentially. So with this particular one, I would push one of those buttons. But here's the thing. It says right here, Reb. I'm just reading what the in Ukrainian it says Reb bez anteni ni uh vmkati, which means don't use it without antenna. Okay, because if you use this without the antennas connected, you can burn up the electronics in there. They will overheat and burn up, sometimes very fast, depending on the power output. So it's telling people like, hey, don't make sure you attach antennas, or I say don't use this without antennas. Make sure you attach antennas first. But so this is not automated. Okay, it's manual. If I want to turn it on, I have to physically push a button to do it. This system here, one or more of these omni antennas are probably actually passive detectors. So they're trying to passively detect. Now you can have active Reb antenna that are omni as well, putting out that donut, like I said. But these are most likely, based on what I can see here, passive detectors detecting it at certain ranges of frequencies. Okay, and when they do, it automatically switches on the appropriate antennas, and it says down here. It switches on all of them. So full automation. The system operates autonomously, providing a quick response to threat without the involvement of an operator. So as soon as the antenna detects a signal coming from a drone within 200 meters of you, it automatically switches on. It says anything between 300 megahertz and 6 gigahertz. And it says when enemy drones are detected, all jammers are activated, making it impossible for them to adapt to signal jamming. So in other words, they won't be able to, the drone, if it has multiple antennas for the purpose of frequency hopping, which is kind of a new thing with drones, but it is a tech that's out there, they shouldn't be able to do that. That's the idea anyway. So yeah, pretty interesting little. I mean, this is so common. This is there's nothing new about this, except I would say the automation is becoming more common, and I'm really glad to see it. Really glad to see it. And hey, Tupperware, whatever it takes, man.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes. So yeah, there are other ones here like this one, the Dandelion 150 electronic warfare system combat unmanned aerial, and so we can take a look at that. That's obviously meant to sit on top of like a vehicle. What's interesting about this though is it's I'm interested. It says 710 to 1010 megahertz. So this is intended to just operate on the low end, okay, to interfere with control signaling, right? So that kind of, it says 3 separate jamming units, right? 710, 850, 950. So these are the most common jamming the most common control frequencies, although they can go much lower. So an autonomous operation of the kit for 2.5 hours. That's also interesting. So what that means is you don't have to have it plugged into your car, apparently. Looks like they must have batteries in there. Yeah, I can see that it does, because you have these plugs right here. These are battery plugs. So that's pretty interesting. Here's a question I have for you. Remember we talked about signal ranges, and you have low signal range and you have high signal range. So like 300, 700, and then you have 5 gigahertz, 5.8 gigahertz, 2.4 gigahertz. Looking at these buckets, which antennas do you think are low and which ones do you think are high?
Well, just from purely lay guessing, you would think maybe the smaller ones are higher and the bigger ones are lower. That would just be a super guess.
I don't think that's. I think you're smarter than you look, Brian.
Well, I tell my ex that all the time. A lot smarter than you thought I was.
Yeah. So, high frequency, right? Frequency means how often something happens. Okay. So when we say high frequency, we're talking about light moving in waves, and the waves go up and down in terms of like power, more frequently at a higher frequency. So that means the distance between the waves is closer. So that means that in order to detect the waves, you need a smaller antenna to detect. And the lower frequency the waves get, the bigger the antennas get, until, once you get into like the below 200 megahertz, you know, it becomes exponential. Pretty soon you need an antenna the size of your damn car. But this is, like really low frequency ranges. That's why you need really big antennas for that purpose. So I don't know, it's somewhat ironic. I was expecting you to say the opposite, but I hope we've shattered a few.
It was simply a toss a coin roll,
50-50, right?
I wish I could lie and say, well, I deduced it based upon radius, and radius has to do with what's
a little math, power of math, for sure. So I just wanted to give that sort of brief overview. I'm not in any way promoting these particular providers. It just happened to be literally 5 minutes before we started. I went on here and said, what kind of electronic warfare systems do we have on the Brave Inventors site? And this is what popped up. So I will say, though, that those of you who might be investors looking to invest in, Ukrainian technology, all these companies, when we win this war, these are the horses you want to bet on, because they're the ones who are going to come out of this conflict in Ukraine ahead of everyone else. When I say everyone else, I mean America too, right? Because these things are getting combat tested every day here in Ukraine. So I would encourage people, after you're done supporting my battalion, the AZOV International Battalion, to buy drones and other equipment here at the whyukraine.com site, feel free to go to braveinventors.com and check out the amazing stuff that Ukraine is coming up with. It's interesting, even if you're just window shopping. It's pretty interesting. There's a lot you can learn.
And if you're an expert on all this kind of stuff, join Technology United for Ukraine. We're all volunteer community of engineers, scientists, technologists, and even on the side of education and stuff, we're doing a very large program that encompasses many aspects of the Ukrainian economy, infrastructures, defense, you name it. So come join us too.
Yeah, Brian, if I were not fighting in Azov, I'd want to be involved in that. You know what I mean? Because that is some really cool stuff. And I look forward to you. Hopefully in the future, maybe we'll be able to talk about that. That'd be really cool.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. As we say here in Ukraine, do pobachення. That means see you later. Do pobachення.
I'm getting it down, brother.
And Slava Ukraine.
Hiram Slava.